So you're upset with the MLS over its treatment of the U.S. Open Cup. I get it, you're not alone. Many people are upset with it right now, and they've made their voices heard in various ways. St. Louis City FC fans just this past weekend protested about it. You can watch some of that above my finger right here. But with anger comes opportunity. An opportunity to explore. An opportunity to explore ways to, well, some might say protest, but others might say seek alternatives. Find ways to give back to the game. Find ways to help these teams that are being affected by MLS's mistreatment of the Open Cup right now. Now, U.S. soccer does indeed have a pyramid. It doesn't have promotion or relegation because our American capitalism roots just will not stand for the possibility of an MLS team like, say, Austin or Toronto being relegated to the second tier and having to suffer financial losses because it now has to play away days in Albuquerque and Hartford instead of Miami and LA. But I digress, as I often do. You might not even be aware of these leagues and certainly not aware of the teams that play in them. And there's a few different reasons for that. The simple fact that a lot of these teams I'm about to talk about didn't even exist as recently as 10 years ago. Many of them not even as recently as 5 years ago. There is an exploding lower league culture in the United States right now with new teams coming online, ready to attract new fans, ready to develop the next generation of soccer players in this country, and most importantly, provide an alternative to the MLS financial juggernaut. Now, you know the MLS is the top of the pyramid here in the United States, and that goes without question right now. But the USL Championship is the one and only Tier 2 club in America as defined by the U.S. Soccer Federation. They are one tier below MLS officially, but again, there's no promotion and relegation in America, so the only chance a USL Championship team has to getting promoted into the MLS is if they buy their way in, because
the United States of America! Yeah!
Now I'm going to go into how to follow some of these USL Championship and USL League One clubs because, quite frankly, a lot of you may not know how to do that. It's a bit of a messy streaming situation, but albeit one where you do have plenty of options to watch these teams without having to get in your car and go 3 or 4 hours away to see them. And the teams I'm going to talk about are suggestions of teams that are within a day trip away or maybe slightly longer than that are in the USL Championship and USL League One that might have some appeal to you as a St. Louisan in terms of distance or maybe just appeal as a soccer fan in general. Now, if you want to skip ahead to each team that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to make them into chapters below, so you can feel free to skip ahead and skip around if you want to find the team that you're looking for. Or if you're a supporter of one of these teams and want to hear what this idiot from St. Louis has to say about your team, go ahead and skip around to your team as well, hear what I have to say, and leave a comment below and tell me what I got wrong or what I may have missed, because I think there may be an opportunity here for me to start covering these clubs on this channel a little bit more if there is enough interest. And whether you're a St. Louisan or you're away from St. Louis and you find this video helpful or enjoyable, please make sure to like and subscribe because it really does help the algorithm here and helps connect me to more fans like you. These leagues have an honest-to-goodness national TV deal to broadcast their games on the CBS family of networks. There will be USL Championship games on your local CBS channel, as well as CBS Sports Network. You can see the schedule here. Feel free to pause at any point if you want to look for a particular matchup that maybe strikes your fancy. But there will be games broadcast on the CBS Sports Golazo Network as well, which streams online. And if it's not on Golazo, if it's not on CBS Sports Network, if it's not on CBS, the games that aren't on those channels will be streamed on ESPN+. So you are pretty much covered from head to toe for all USL Championship and USL League One games between the CBS family of networks and ESPN+. Now, if you can't remember to check out these websites, look them up on FOTMob. All the teams in USL Championship and USL League One are on FOTMob, and I have found this an excellent way to keep track of all the clubs that I'm paying at least a little attention to or a lot of attention to. Now comes the question, which USL Championship or League One club is right for me? Well, that's dependent on you and what you want out of a club. I'm not going to highlight every single club in the USL Championship and USL League One because this video would take an eternity because there's a lot of teams to cover. But instead I'm going to highlight 6 clubs, 6 teams that are within a reasonable drive from St. Louis. I also think each club that I'm going to mention has an interesting story to tell of their own, and also I'm highlighting them because each one of these clubs will be featuring in my anti-Lease Cup tour that I am planning during Lease Cup play in late July and early August. I'm going to hit up, or at least try to, each one of these clubs. The Birmingham game that you can see there kind of depends on logistics a little bit because that's a farther drive than the other teams. But yes, I have plans to hit up just about every one of these teams that you are seeing on your screen right now during Leagues Cup play. And we're going to start our tour of regional USL clubs with a club that I have picked to support this season and beyond, Memphis 901. Founded in 2019, this club plays in the USL Championship, and the 901 in its name is a reference to the area code in Memphis, and the logo is an homage to its popular and historic Beale Street, which has a lot of colorful neon signs in front of its beautiful bars and restaurants. Now, why might Memphis 901 be for you? Well, I picked them personally because I lived there for a year, and I've always found to be a little bit at home in Memphis because culturally it felt like a smaller, more southern St. Louis to me. I grew up in St. Louis. I moved away from St. Louis for over a decade. But when I came home to Memphis, it did feel familiar to me. In fact, I would go as far as to say if St. Louis is the gateway to the West, Memphis is the gateway to the South culturally, at least for me anyway. But getting back to the team, it's owned partially by U.S. goalkeeping legend Tim Howard, a native of Memphis, and the team plays in AutoZone Park, which is the home of the St. Louis Cardinals minor league affiliate, the Memphis Redbirds. Game day experience is led by the supporters group Bluff City Mafia and features fun homages to its city's his musical past. Like I know they host guitar smashings before games. It's kind of wild. They also feature a familiar name if you've been following the U.S. men's national team's youth ranks, over the past decade. Emerson Hidman plays for Memphis 901 now. You might remember he went over to Fulham and a few different European clubs, didn't quite work out. Now he's 27 years old and he features now for Memphis 901. I thought that was kind of interesting. If you're looking to make this trip down to Memphis, it is a little over 4 hours away from St. Louis, so it's not a bad day trip. You can go down in the morning, watch a game if it's playing in the midday, and make it home in time for bedtime. That's kind of how close it is. Now, if you're looking for a team that has big ambitions and soon a shiny new stadium, Indy 11 might be for you. Founded in 2013 with rallying support by its supporters group, the Brickyard Battalion, the team started in the now-defunct NASL, but moved to the USL in 2018. But the Indy 11 are a club with aspirations to eventually play the likes of St. Louis City FC in the future, and I'm not just talking about the Open Cup. In 2017, the club applied for one of 4 expansion slots in the MLS, but did not make the list of finalists. But that hasn't stopped the club from its vision for the future. Right now, the club plays at IUPUI Stadium, that's Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, or now you see why they call it IUPUI. But in June 2022, the club bought 20 acres in downtown Indianapolis and has broken ground to build a 20,000-seat multi-purpose stadium. You don't build that with aspirations to just play in the USL. You play that with a bigger vision in mind. And remember, City Park in St. Louis holds 22,000. Now, construction was supposed to be happening now. However, human remains were found on the construction site, and it appears that has kind of put things to a halt. Hopefully that's not a bad omen for things to come. Now, Indy is a little closer than Memphis to St. Louis, albeit with a commute that is no less boring, although you do have Effingham there and the big giant aluminum cross there, so I don't know. Take your pick. To me, no difference. But maybe you're not a fan of Indiana. Maybe you'd rather support their rivals, Louisville City FC. Now, if you're a St. Louis FC fan from days gone by, as I'm wearing their hat right now, you might bristle at the thought of supporting Louisville City FC, and I will explain why here in a bit. Now, when Orlando City joined the MLS, its USL rights were transferred to Louisville, and thus Louisville City was born in 2014. The team has even kept Orlando City color over the years, acknowledging that that's basically where the team is rooted from. Now, unlike Indy 11 at the moment, Louisville does play in a shiny brand new stadium. After playing a few years at a minor league baseball park, ownership bought land next to that park and built the 11,700-seater Lynn Family Stadium. Now, it's widely considered to be one of the best places to catch a game in the USL, and it regularly draws at least 10,000 fans to its home games. So they draw very well, they have a very passionate fan base, and they play in a nice, shiny new stadium that feels suitable for its level of play. Now, that attendance is fueled in part by the team's success on the pitch. Louisville won the Eastern Conference in 2020 and 2022, only to finish as USL Championship runners-up in both seasons. Now, last season in 2023, the team dipped to 5th in the West and 10th overall, but I don't expect them to stay down there very long. Success is just in the blood of this club. Now, one reason, as I mentioned, the St. Louis FC connection, you might not want to support Louisville is the former rivalry with St. Louis FC. The two teams played annually in the King's Cup, and it was kind of an homage to the two King Louis that served as imagination and inspiration for the founding of St. Louis and Louisville. It was actually two different King Louis for both. Since FC folded, Louisville has played both City and City 2 in preseason matches, so they're kind of keeping that rivalry alive in a way, as well as a bit of a mutual respect as well. Now, it's just a smidge farther from St. Louis than Indy, and instead of going east on I-70, you go east on I-64 out of St. Louis. But it's so close, the distance between the two is negligible. It's just about the same no matter which way you're going. Now, one reason I'm planning on doing a Saturday-Sunday weekend in Louisville and Indy is because the cities themselves are only an hour and a half away, and yes, the two do have a pretty intense rivalry of their own as well that I would like to kind of, view the two teams in a bit of a dichotomy, and as well as just logistical convenience. Now, perhaps you want to follow the development of St. Louis City's own Miggy Perez. And for that, this one requires a bit of a further drive, but it's still doable. And I'm including them as a kind of sort of regional team in this video. We're talking about Birmingham Legion. Now, Miggy has been loaned there for the 2024 season so he can get some playing time, and at the time of this recording, he has featured as a frequent starter in Birmingham's preseason games, albeit as more of an offensive-minded 8 in the center midfield role instead of a defensive-minded 6 role that he played last year. Now, the club started in 2014 as the Birmingham Hammers before becoming Legion FC in 2019. The team has enjoyed decent success in the USL Championship, making the USL Championship playoffs in each of the last 5 seasons, but not advancing past the conference semis. Now, they do play in the biggest stadium we mentioned so far, University of Alabama Birmingham's 47,100-seat Protective Stadium. And while they don't attract that many fans, not by a long shot, they still show up in impressive numbers. Birmingham Legion FC set a club best attendance mark of 18,418 in the Open Cup last season against Inter Miami, and this game was held in June, so this was before Messi-mania arrived in the U.S. Now imagine, had Messi actually arrived in the U.S. by then, maybe those 47,000 seats do get filled. And their main rivals are Memphis 901, who I mentioned earlier, and that is known as the Southern Harm Derby. Southern Harm, I mean, what does that entail? You've heard of Southern Hospitality, but Southern Harm? Is that just like a really bad sunburn? Now, the one drawback for St. Louisans is the distance between St. Louis and Birmingham. It is by far the furthest city of any of these teams that I'm mentioning here, at about 7.5 hours on the road. A round-trip plane ticket will run you about $300 as well. And I'm still hoping to go to the August 3rd game, but I'm going to need a carpool buddy for that one. But it's a good thing that it won't be hard to catch a Birmingham game on your screen, whether it's on the TV screen or on streaming as well, because, again, all USL games are being covered one way or another, but I do know some Birmingham Legion games are being covered by CBS or CBS Sports Network as well, which is pretty cool. But those are just the championship clubs that are worth consideration for St. Louis area soccer fans looking to possibly make a day trip. Now, there are a lot less regional-ish options to St. Louis in League One than there is the championship, but the two teams that I feel are within a reasonable driving distance are very interesting for their own reasons, and I think they're definitely worth your consideration. Union Omaha played in City Park during St. Louis City FC's first and only to this point Open Cup home game. Now, we set an attendance record for the Open Cup with a 22,000 plus sellout. This was against League One's Union Omaha, but that was also aided, I feel, and some of the feel-good about that game by diehard Union Omaha fans that made the trek to St. Louis, and just about every one of them went home to Omaha very impressed with not just City Park, but us supporters here in St. Louis. There's a bit of a kinship, I think, that has developed between Union Omaha fans and some of the St. Louis supporters because of just how well Union Omaha fans were treated here. In fact, some of them have even said that Union Omaha fans were treated worse at Kansas City, which we just cannot abide by here in St. Louis. Now, the club only started playing in USL 1 in 2020, but has been ridiculously successful from the jump. They were the USL 1 runners-up in their inaugural season and won the entire damn thing a year later in 2021. They won the regular season crown twice in 2021, and just this past season, they made the quarterfinals of the Open Cup in 2022 and might have gone deeper in 2023 had they run into a team other than St. Louis City SC. The team plays in a minor league baseball park, kind of a recurring theme, and they typically draw about 3,000 or 4,000 fans to their games, which is pretty good for League One. And they are backed by the Omaha Parliament supporters group. You can find them on Twitter. I mention them because their members have probably been the most vocal to me on Twitter about visiting them. That passion really filtered through with me to the point where I am including them on the schedule. It's either going to be the August 3rd game if I can't go to Birmingham, or if I do go to Birmingham, it'll be August 24th. I'm still working that out, Union Omaha fans, but I will be coming in August, assuming I still have a functioning car by then. Now, Omaha is a bit of a longer drive. It's about a 6.5-hour commute, but you can cut that commute in half with pit stops in Kansas City to and from. It's right at about the halfway point. And then the other USL 1 club that I'm going to mention here might be the most interesting club at its core out of all the teams that I've mentioned so far. They're colorful, they're loud, they are very community-based, and they are everything that if you were a lower league soccer fan in any country, you would love and appreciate. And you have at least part of their success attributed to this plastic flamingo in the snow. Yes, I am talking about Forward Madison. Now, why flamingos in cold, snowy Wisconsin of all places? Well, you can thank a prank by University of Wisconsin students for that in 1979. One morning, students and faculty were greeted by 1,008 plastic pink flamingos on the lawn of Bascom Hill. It was a prank by a couple of students that was cleared out by the afternoon, but the memory has lasted generations, as the flamingo is now something of an unofficial city mascot for Madison. Now, Madison in general has a reputation for being eclectic, inclusive, and just plain fun, and that spirit has been funneled into this little USL 1 team that could. There are currently 5 official supporter groups for Forward Madison. Like the St. Louligans, the Flock is the main and largest supporters group and leads the way for its supporters group both in-game and in the community. La Barra 608 is the supporters group for the Latinos. Forward Union focuses on community service. The Featherstone Flamingos is the black supporters group, and they honor the maker of the plastic flamingos, Don Featherstone. I thought that was cool. And the Mingo Ladies is for, well, the ladies. The club also has an international membership group called Mingos Worldwide, which comes with a scarf bearing their promotional slogan, the world's second favorite team. That is how well revered this club is around the world. It is not uncommon to see jerseys in Europe and Mexico and other countries just because that is the reach that this team and its social media have. They have over 24,000 followers on Twitter, for example. In fact, to prove my point, here's YouTuber Spencer Owen rocking a Forward Madison jersey after visiting Classic Football Shirts in London. And yes, you can buy Forward Madison kits on classic football shirts, although I would recommend you buy them through the club because then the club gets the money for that. Now, they play in the 5,000-seat Breese Stevens Field, and fans usually pack the place. Their average attendance of about 4,200 was the highest in the USL One in their 2019 inaugural season. The team on the pitch is very competitive. They made the semifinals of USL One in their inaugural season. Then they suffered kind of a COVID-related dip in the following 3 seasons, and they appear to be on the bounce back, though. Last season, they were 6th in USL One, and they actually made it to the quarterfinals of USL One this past season. And it's not a bad drive to Madison. It's actually not as bad as you'd think. Yes, you do have to go through Illinois to get there, but it's not as far as you think, at a little over 5 hours away. And more importantly, though, if you're worried about wear and tear on your car, there is Amtrak service that connects through Chicago, but you probably have to take a bus from Chicago to Madison. But at $75 each way from St. Louis to Madison, it's not terrible considering the price of gas and the price of airfare, which is more than that. Hopefully this video has helped you find your team, or at the very least, find where you can catch a USL game on your screen. Now, there's probably more options than you thought here, and with USL games on TV and streaming, it's never been easier to follow the USL, especially if you use an app like FotMob to keep up with these teams. And again, there is more than the USL ecosystem to consider. I've mentioned St. Charles FC on this channel in USL 2. There's also Etar and Club Atletico as well in the MPSL. Give those teams a look as well. Now, did you come away with a better understanding of your regional alternatives to St. Louis City SC and the MLS by watching this video? Are you a fan of any of the clubs that I mentioned on this video and you happen to stumble upon it? Please leave a comment below and make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. And again, if you're from one of those clubs, let me know what I might have missed. Give us some interesting anecdotes. Sell your team to us here in St. Louis because we are always hungry for more soccer. And let's face it, July and August, that's a good time to take a day trip. So sell us on coming to your city to watch your team. I'm Tom Franklin, your resident soccer zombie, and I'll see you next time.